The archaeological record isn't what some people think. There are those who believe that archaeology holds mysteries and secrets to a suppressed past. Could alternative archaeology be uncovering these curiosities? Or can science and archaeology explain the seemingly unexplainable? We've made it our mission to look into the claims of alternative archaeology and evaluate the evidence they present. We'll compare it to actual scientific archaeology and see which can give us a more realistic interpretation of the past. I'm professional archaeologist Sarah Head, and this is Forensic Cat Inspector Bragnir Thrandrel. We're going to put alternative archaeology under our lens and see how it holds up to reality. Archaeological Fantasies presents Curious Archaeology. Edwin Drake is often credited with being the first person to drill for oil in Pennsylvania. But what if that wasn't true? What if there was evidence that there were people drilling for oil and harvesting oil much earlier than even that? Curious Archaeology decided to investigate. Forensic Cat Inspector Bragnir decided to lead the way through the woods, looking for evidence of surface oil in the surrounding woods. But even if we found some, what all does it mean? Who could have been here harvesting oil before the Europeans made it over with their machines?
Contrary to popular belief, oil was discovered in Pennsylvania. But it wasn't by white Europeans. The Iroquois had been using it for medicinal purposes as well as cosmetic for many years. There's records of them using it for everything as mosquito repellent to an elixir that they thought would help with their health. I'm not really sure how well that worked out for them, but it was in use at the time. And there's even a record of a ceremony being held to summon the sun, where a large amount of the oil was burned at the time that the sun was rising to make it appear as if the sun was being summoned by the fire itself.
From 1996 to 1998, archaeologist Sue Ann Curtis with the Meckhurst Archaeological Institute in Erie, Pennsylvania, led archaeological excavations of the oil pits in northern Pennsylvania. She was able to discover that many of the oil pits there were actually dug fairly deep. They were 7 to 8 feet long, 4 to 8 feet wide, and could be up to 10 feet deep. The deeper the pits went, the more of a chance there was that the pits had been shored up by vertical timbers, or had ladders put in them that went all the way down to the bottom. Collection devices for the oil were also found, made of wood and clay. Curtis sent pieces of the wood back to the University of California at Riverside, where it was subjected to 9 radiocarbon dating tests. The dates all collaborated to AD 1450 to 1440, placing this particular oil mining operation well within the Woodland time period for pre-contact Native Americans.
Sweet crude often just came right up to the surface, appearing on pools of water, shallow pools of water, where it could be identified by the sheen it was given off. Native Americans were aware of this and they looked for these signs. They were harvesting gallons of oil before we even got here. It's not hard to believe that they would do that. If you had a natural resource at your disposal, why wouldn't you use it?
There are some, however, that are making the argument that the ancient oil pits of Pennsylvania were actually collected by Bronze Age oil barons who were collecting the crude oil to fuel the Bronze Age back home in the Mediterranean and to create the superweapon Greek fire. There are those that believe that the reason for this is that there was no advanced culture here in the Americas at the time, and that someone else must have been coming here to harvest the oil. This is another transoceanic traveler argument. Is there any evidence that there were also Bronze Age oil barons here, harvesting oil and shipping it back to the Mediterranean? As with the Phoenicians, there is no evidence that there were any Minoans in Pennsylvania, or any part of America for that matter. There's no reason to think that Mediterranean soldiers would go so far as the Americas to find oil for a weapon such as Greek fire, which we still don't know the composition of. There is the idea that there's a Bronze Age ship petroglyph, but it's very difficult to find, and its origin is dubious at best. We also have no sunken ships, no records from the time, and no other artifacts showing a mix of culture or trade. So when it comes to the archaeological record, all of the evidence errs on the side of Native Americans, and not Minoans from the Mediterranean.
Anardit's claims that the Mycenaeans needed to come to America in order to harvest oil to take it back with them so that they could make their Greek fire is a little unfounded. There's no evidence for that, not even a sunken ship or two. What we do have is ample evidence that the Native Americans were harvesting the oil. We have written accounts, we have artifacts of association, and we also have C14 dating that does put the oil wells in the Woodland period. With all that evidence, there's no reason to assume that a transoceanic traveler came all the way to America just to steal our oil. Have you found the oil yet? Let me know when you find the oil, because then we'll be rich. Go on, Bragnir. Go make us rich. Good boy. While Inspector Bragnier and I did our best to find oil, but alas, we did not strike it rich. It is around here, but it takes a special kind of person to find it, namely, someone who knows where it is.